Welcome to the New School of Marketing podcast, the place for smart, simple strategies that will amplify your business results. Sharing practical tips, insider knowledge, and actionable advice because marketing is something that every business owner can do. Now, let's get started. Introducing your host, Bianca McKenzie, mum, lover of snow sports, camping, horse riding, and in-demand launch strategist and Facebook advertising knowledge bank.
Welcome to the New School of Marketing podcast. I'm Bianca McKenzie, and today I'm talking about doing good business with Skye Cusack. Skye is an indigenous Australian copywriter, author, and marketer. She founded BluSkye Marketing in February 2023 with a passion for accessible marketing. She has been described as the love child of creative and analytical thinking. Welcome to the podcast, Skye. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
This is cool. Actually, before we start all the other questions, because I was just reading your bio, author. What?
Oh, yes. Look, there is. If you go on, don't do it though, but if you look me up on Google, you will find a novel that I wrote when I was 16. And I'm not proud of it. It's like for a 16-year-old, I guess it was okay. But there was very basic things that I did wrong. For instance, halfway through the novel, there's a character called June, and halfway through her name changes to July, and just no one noticed that. It's very funny, but I'm actually in the process of, I've written my manuscript for my second book, and I'm in process at the moment of talking to some potential publishers and things. So yeah, that is I guess, wow, I'm revealing my big secret. I'm hoping to be published kind of early next year.
Oh, that's exciting. Awesome. Yeah. That is so cool. So that being said, that you've written a book and you're writing another one, you're obviously good at writing, and I know you're a copywriter. Why did you start your business in copywriting, especially with the rise of AI? Talk me through it.
Okay, so I think I'm actually going to start this off quite strong with a controversial opinion. I don't see AI copywriting tools as competitors, and I never have. So the reason that I started BluSkye Marketing is because I worked in corporate marketing for over 10 years, and I saw how often businesses were already investing in agencies and freelancers. So, I guess if you ask why did I start it, it's because I was ready to be my own boss, and I knew that there'd be work. I never actually had a doubt of that in my mind. And the reason for that is, AI tools like ChatGPT and others, they have a totally different demographic to copywriters. So people who use AI are most likely doing it for two reasons. Either they don't have the resources, like the time or the money, or two, they don't understand the value of investing in humans. Because the truth is, if you're using AI and then all your competitors are using AI, then everyone in your space sounds exactly the same. Yeah. And so your brand voice isn't unique, and therefore you don't stand out. But I've been really lucky, I guess, that I work with people that have that big commitment to, investing in human beings and understanding the value and the benefit of sitting down with someone and getting a completely unique strategy that's the most effective thing for your unique brand and business. So I've never been too concerned about AI because it's just too different. I'm not competing because we have different ideal customers, I guess.
Yes, I love that. I really do. And you know what? There's actually businesses that are not allowed to use AI. Like my husband's they do a lot of work with the Defence Force and things like that, and they have to sign specific documents that they will not be using artificial intelligence. So
that is so interesting.
Yeah. And I totally agree. There is no competition. Look, I do use it, I play with it, but half of the time it's thank you, ChatGPT. I don't like that. I'm going to write my own.
Yeah, I use it as kind of a sounding board. So I don't really ever use it for specific copy, but I will go in there and be like, hey, I'm creating a social media content calendar. What do you think of this idea? And then ChatGPT will come back to me and be like, oh, maybe you could do this or this. And it's kind of just I guess because you would know, when you are running your own thing and you're sitting alone in your office and there's no one to talk to, and you're it's very different to my experience of working corporate. So it's just kind of a mate to have a chat with, and then I go off and do the work myself. So I know that it's not plagiarized. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. No, I totally
that I use AI, but
Yeah, no, I think everyone does, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you can use it to make your life easier. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh, got this idea, and then pop it in there and go, give me some more ideas, or give me like 10 headlines for something. And then like I look at all the headlines and go, no, I'm gonna still make my own. But like it's good
I
to,
think
ideas.
I totally
sounding
agree
good.
with you. It's good for like those first few steps when you're like ideating, and then when you get to actually wanting to finalize copy to, put out in front of your market, I think that's maybe when it's time to get human beings that understand the strategy.
Yes, I 100% agree. And also you've mentioned it before, brand tone. And if you are a personal brand, it's so important to have that brand tone right and not sound like a robot.
Yeah, I think I can tell. I don't know if that's just because I'm a copywriter, but I think consumers are getting to the point where they can tell when something's been written by ChatGPT. Or maybe that's just me because I'm so in the space, but I feel like you can tell when it's genuine and when it's not.
I think a little bit of both, because the robots are getting smarter as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, yeah. And sometimes I'm actually scared to use something that's done by ChatGPT or like a certain word, because it's like, oh my God, are they going to think that I'm a robot?
Yeah. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. I guess that's why people hire people like me.
Yes.
Because like it's our job to think about all of those things. And you're totally right. Consumers are getting smarter, but also AI is getting smarter. I'm really interested to see where it goes, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm still a little bit like reluctant. I've started using the copy ones like ChatGPT, but I haven't played with like artificial like intelligence for images and stuff. I'm like, I don't know, it's just going one step too far for me. There's people that do amazing things with it, but I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, and I guess I'm always worried about like plagiarism, especially with imagery. Yeah, that's always my concern. Is like I definitely don't like for copy, I totally get why people would want to just use ChatGPT, but when it comes to AI imagery, like I've never used it, and I've always just, invested in people.
Yes, and working with people is actually really nice. So
yeah, I mean, maybe we're biased, but I prefer it.
Same. Like still gets a bit lonely with a robot.
That's true. That's so true.
All right. From a copywriting perspective, I'm always interested to hear more about copywriting. I have a few friends who are copywriters as well, and it's like one of those things that even though I've done some courses, it's like, I don't know, it's like a whole different language to me. So talk us through what you think is good copywriting, like what's best practice in copywriting.
So I feel like, not to quote Mean Girls, but I feel like, like I'm not a regular copywriter. I'm a cool copywriter just because I'm pretty chill. Like I can summarize this in one sentence. I will elaborate, but in one sentence, I would just say that good copywriting is copywriting that converts. Like it's kind of like, it's not that simple, but it is kind of that simple. Does that make sense? So, anything that works is good. But the likelihood of your copy converting does kind of increase drastically if you have like a solid communications and brand strategy. So, generally you want to have correct spelling and grammar, a consistent brand voice, and, like a call to action, like a CTA.
Yeah.
And of course, like these build trust with your audience, and they also give them the information they need to know how to get involved with your brand in the way that you want them to. So with call to action specifically, you want to take a lot of care in, really thinking about how do you want consumers to interact with your brand? Like if you're on socials, do you want them to like or follow? If it's a poster, do you want them to scan the QR code? If it's a website, do you want them to buy tickets or book a call? Like it's really important to be really clear and really consistent. I think that's that's good copy to me. It's just clear and consistent.
I love that. I really do love that. And I like that you said CTA, because a lot of people kind of forget and then wonder why people are not taking action.
And why they're like, why aren't we doing anything? And that's the thing is, I don't think people realize how many decisions we make in a day. Like the second we get up, we're like, what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to wear? Do I want to use, this mascara or my other mascara? Or, like there's so many decisions. Like before you've even left the house to go to work, your brain is like just fried.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of care that, we take as copywriters or as marketers to make it as easy as possible. Like consumers, I mean, because like we're professionals, but we're also consumers, right? Like
Yeah.
we pay for products and services just like everybody else. And I just want things to be as easy as possible. And there is a lot of data to show that if a consumer doesn't know, like, or doesn't feel directed enough to know how to, make the conversion that you want, they just click away because they don't understand what they're meant to do. And their brain is like so fried from like deciding what they're going to have for dinner tonight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I often say, just tell me what to do. I don't need to
Yes.
know all the other things. Just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And you got to make it easy. You just make it
Yes.
easy. Don't make me scroll, read
100%.
too many things unless I need to. Like, there's different people. Some people need to know more. Some people need to know less. But you need to cater for all of those people.
Yeah, and that's where the communication strategy comes in. Like, I think before you even talk about what is the copy going to look like, what's the call to action going to be, like there's weeks and weeks of, market research and strategizing that goes into, so it's, what the best action is for like the target demo or demographic, I should say.
I love that you just said that, because I don't know if you find this, but you get people to come to you and they want X, Y, Z and they want it next week. And don't get me wrong, I am the most impatient person as well. But they don't always understand that it takes research. It takes longer than a few seconds.
It does. And that's why I don't feel like I'm competing with AI, because the people that want that, they'll just go to ChatGPT. Like, it's very rare, I think, for someone that wants that to then agree to book with a professional because they want something and they want it quickly. And, I'm not going to judge anyone for that. Like, maybe there's a little bit of bias because I'm a copywriter, but like, if that is the way that you want to do it, there are options for that. But if you do want that really like clean, effective strategy, it does take more of that time. And yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I'm just wondering if some of the tools that we have now are making us more impatient, or maybe not even making us more impatient, if it's just taking away from understanding how Rome wasn't built in a day. Basically, what did I say? It takes so many hours to make a Rolls Royce, or so many hours to make a Toyota. Like, it's like longer to get like something solid. I'm just wondering if sometimes people don't understand the process and don't understand the value of something, and that's why they don't choose something. This is obviously going a whole different direction, and it comes probably down to copywriting, like. Communicating the value.
Well, I actually can talk about this. So BluSkye Marketing, my agency, we've actually made a commitment to 2 UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they are reduced inequalities and quality education. So that's a commitment that we've made to make sure we're doing ethical marketing in a structured way. Is we do provide that quality education. Like, I'm more than happy to sit down with someone, and it's not for a sales reason, really. It's not like, oh, I'm going to tell you all this stuff and then you have to book with me. It's just like an understanding of, this is what goes into it. This is what you can expect. This is the value. And that is a commitment we've made, because I feel like to truly be ethical, you need to provide knowledge. And then, clients can feel empowered to make informed decisions about who they're working with.
Oh, I love this. So let's talk about that a little bit more. I know that you focus on ethical marketing. So let's dive into a little bit more, a little bit further. So I like the whole empowered decisions. And let's talk about this.
Yeah, so I posted something about this on our socials the other day, actually, about the importance of consent when working with professionals. And this doesn't just go for marketing, this goes for everything. Obviously, like, your doctor should be asking consent from you, probably, like, if you get McDonald's, they should probably ask for, you know what I mean? But I can only talk about it in like a marketing sense. So my passion for ethical marketing actually started many, many years ago. I was working corporate and I was pretty green at the time. I was like a little marketing baby. And I was working full time. It was like one of my first like big girl marketing jobs. And I was looking through the Meta. It wasn't called Meta at the time, but it is now. So that's how I'm going to refer to it.
Yep.
I was looking through the meta analytics, say that 10 times fast, that an agency had sent through to my employer at the time. And something just didn't seem right. So I went to investigate myself, and I saw that the numbers I'd exported myself from Meta were completely different. So the agency had written, much different, much higher numbers in the report to kind of manipulate the perceived return on investment. And that really opened my eyes, because at that point, it hadn't even occurred to me that people could do that. Like, you can just lie to a client because they don't understand most of the time, especially because we work with kind of small business owners that are kind of early on in their business life cycle.
Yep.
You could say something got 10,000 clicks when it only got like 10, and they probably wouldn't know. Because like you can lie, and that had never occurred to me. And so
it doesn't to me either, to be honest. I've been doing this for a while.
So that was a big eye opener for me. But ethics are hard because everybody has different ethics, and I don't think you can't really say, and I wouldn't, that ethics are objectively right or wrong. Like, you can have your own moral code and I can have mine, and I would never say like someone was wrong. But that's why we structured our commitment to the 2 UN Sustainable Development Goals, just so we knew within ourselves, this is what our version of ethical marketing is.
Yeah.
This is just how we like to work. We agreed on them as a team. So the team I work with now have basically been here since the start. Because I started as a freelancer and then kind of transitioned into an agency.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of the team on way before it was even public that we were an agency, and we decided these together. Like, this is how we best feel that we can commit to ethical marketing. And I do think that there is a power imbalance when a client comes to you, because they're coming to you because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, clearly they wouldn't hire us if they knew what to do. And so I think it's important to use our powers for good and not evil, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. No, I am just sitting there. I'm still a little bit like gobsmacked by what you were saying, because obviously Meta is my wheelhouse, Facebook ads. And I would just never even consider tweaking the numbers. Yeah. I'm the kind of person who will like open it up, go through it with you on like a Zoom call, sharing the screen, going, this is what I'm looking at. This is what it means.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's about educating people. I don't like to keep people in the dark. I'll share as much as you want me to share. Obviously, like, I know a lot of my clients, they're like, nah, I don't really need to know certain things, and just need to look at conversions and things like that. But like, to me, that is just like being a good person. I don't know. Like, I
totally agree.
Wouldn't even think about.
Wouldn't even think of it. Yeah. And so maybe I'm just like jaded, because that was like one of my first experiences in corporate marketing. So maybe I'm just like jaded from all of it. But like, without, going into extraneous detail, I've seen there's a bunch of ways that if you wanted to make a lot of money as a marketer, there's a bunch of things that you could do that I've seen, because I've worked for corporate businesses, that I've had to be like, hey, I know what this agency or this freelance is doing, and it's not cool. We shouldn't work with them anymore.
Wow.
There's all sorts of things you can do that I am very committed to not doing.
I'm so glad, though, to hear that you have learned, like, you've literally seen it and gone, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do something different. Like, I haven't really seen all the shady tax. Well, I kind of tuned them out. I have to say, I know it happens. People come to me who have been to other agencies, and they have then, they got like, they would say, we didn't get any results, but they also didn't get any education. So I'm like, okay, well, we go through it all and things like that. But there's so much in the online world where people make things look shiny. I regularly post that I don't take screenshots of Facebook ads accounts anymore.
Yeah.
because it doesn't tell the full story. It is not transparent. Like I can easily like filter out the columns that are not looking so good. Like, you know, I might have like 10 different campaigns running and 2 might be doing well. I'm like, oh, I'm just selecting those 2 and I'm showing, you know, this amazing return on ad spend. And there's like these other 8 campaigns that might be not making that much money or maybe like losing money. There's a whole lot of things. And you do learn after a while that what you show online is not necessarily, or what you see online is not necessarily the truth. So I love that you've made a commitment to actually sit down with people and talk them through it. So,
well, it sounds like you're doing that as well, though. Maybe I'm just doing it more like, I think maybe we put a lot of planning and effort into it, but it sounds like you're just doing that kind of like organically and authentically.
It's just me.
Yeah, and I like that. Like, we do have a whole ethical marketing strategy, but I'm sure there are lots of people that do marketing ethically, just like, and they don't even realize that's just because that's how they are as people.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm not out here to be like, I'm the most ethical marketer. I'm just out here to say, if people don't have, you know, a solid understanding of what that can look like, and they do want to kind of put a bit more and like really put it on paper and commit to it, that's what we've done. But I'm sure there are lots of people that market ethically,
Oh yeah, without having the ethical kind of, like, it's not like everyone else is unethical.
But only me. I'm the only good marketer. No, absolutely not.
There are a lot of unethical marketers out there, and like I do know that.
I don't know. People sometimes are like, "Oh, you're a bit too woke," and it's like, well, I'd rather be too woke than asleep. I don't know. That was a weird way to phrase that, but you know what I mean.
No,
I would always. It's interesting that I think we work with like consumers at different life stages, because I want the people that are like, well, I target, I should say, the people that are like right at the start, they don't know anything, and I want to go in and like give them the education and teach them all this stuff, and then so they have that knowledge when they work with someone in the future. And then it sounds like you want to work with people that already kind of have that established. So that's really interesting. We're at like different stages in the life cycle. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it is different. I do work with people who are like brand new as well, but more in the teaching. I'm kind of the opinion that anyone brand new, especially very new to business, shouldn't invest in Facebook ads. That's probably a controversial opinion as well, but I can only amplify what is already working. So if you're at the beginning stages, you're often still testing all of that and things like that. So it's kind of like a necessity of being a Facebook ads manager that you work with someone who is already established. So but
I totally agree.
I love that education of helping people make informed decisions. And I guess that's what copywriting, I guess, is a really big part of that, just to explain all the pieces and all the parts to them. And I work with a lot of sales pages, and that's what a lot of sales pages do. Explaining, you know, the whys and the whats. So I love that. Yeah. Are there any like particular sort of like industries or niches that you like working with?
So I said before that whole team was involved in the process. Like when we kind of like articulated our own brand for BluSkye Marketing as an agency, we had a big talk about it, because I've got a background in finance marketing, which I love, but everyone in the team was like, please don't make me do finance marketing. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I'll give you something more interesting. You know, I've got other people on the team that specialize in like video game marketing. And I was like, that's cool, but I don't really know much about it. And so we didn't want to go for an industry. We were like, we want a niche, obviously. But so we decided to go with, you know, the ethics and the values. So we say that our niche are brands that are in business to do good.
Yeah.
So naturally we work with a lot of not-for-profits, community initiatives, artists, festivals, that kind of thing, because it is less about the industry for me. And I mean, like, I probably wouldn't work with, like the tobacco industry. I am a smoker, but I don't want to promote that to other people. And maybe like gambling as well. I don't know if I could. I actually got a really good opportunity last year that was for something to do with gambling, and I just had to turn it down. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't my little heart. I can't,
Yeah.
I have to really believe in something. And in the past, I have actually ended contracts with clients if I feel like they're in business for different reasons than
Yeah.
me. And that's no shade to anyone that does business differently. It's just, if we're speaking different languages and we have different goals, then we're probably not the right agency for them anyway. So it's for everyone's benefit that they can find someone new who is aligned with their approach to business.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I really do love that. Sometimes it's just good to say no because, it's not the right
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah. And it is for them as well as for us. But I can't help people that don't align with, like, I'm just not qualified. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I totally 100% agree with that. Like there's probably plenty of industries, I can't think of any right now, that like types of businesses that I'm like, no, sorry, can't help you. This doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know. So I love it. Oh, so many things to unfold. Also on your, I think it's in your Instagram bio, you put in there that you're an indigenous owned business. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So yes, I am First Nations. I'm from the Dogberry Yidinji mob, which are in Queensland near the Atherton Tablelands. And it's really special to me. So being like a First Nations copywriter and agency owner, there's a really strong feeling of legacy while I'm working. Like, I'm always so aware that I couldn't do what I do without the 60,000 plus years of storytelling from First Nations peoples that came before me.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me to kind of honor my ancestry and provide opportunities as well for other First Nations peoples through my work. So a lot of my biggest client at the moment is a First Nations organization. I say people on my team are First Nations, but they're also my relatives. So that's not as impressive as it sounds.
Oh, that's cool.
And I've had a lot of people say, so that's kind of like for myself, it's about legacy and it's about respect and acknowledgement of culture and ancestry. But in terms of like, if I want to talk about it like that, in terms of like in the market, I've had a lot of people say that the reason that they want to work with me or with BluSkye is because there's such a lack of First Nations professionals. So I guess it is a little bit strategic, like not in an unethical way. I can't say all of this stuff and then be like, I'm going around just shouting my heritage from the rooftops to make money. It's not like that. It's just, it's nice to know that there are becoming more spaces for First Nations people, and kind of reducing that stigma.
Yes.
That, if you're First Nations, or Indigenous, like you can't be a professional and you're just like on the dole. You know what I mean? It's nice that narrative's starting to change, and I'm really proud to be a big part of that, or to hopefully become a big part of that.
I think you're already making some ripples.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Ripples, they turn into waves. No, I think it's good. Yeah. And the other thing is it's education. Like, again, you don't know this unless you put it somewhere front and center. There might be other Indigenous owned businesses, but people are not putting it on their website. Then how do you know? And then how do you make an informed choice? So I think it's, again, part of ethical marketing is just helping people make an informed choice.
Yeah, so, understanding the importance of heritage. I totally agree.
I know there will be a lot of organizations who want to do business with Indigenous owned businesses. And if you don't put it on your website, no one will know.
And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I will. I've decided, I've made an executive decision. I was actually really badly bullied for being Indigenous for like most of my childhood. Like, I got really bullied at school. And for a long time, I did that thing, like I straightened my hair, I bleached it blonde, like I have the privilege of being like more of like a light-skinned Indigenous person. So for a long time, like I hated that my hair was curly. I hated how big my nose was. Like, you don't understand, when I was a teenager, how many times I'd be on my phone Googling like nose jobs Tasmania, I had such a shame around it. And then I kind of got to, I don't know, I guess it was like a few years ago where I was like, I'm allowed to be Aboriginal. Like, I don't know, like that sounds weird, but I got to this point where I was like, I think I experienced racism. And I'm rejecting that narrative. And now, I wear my hair curly all the time. I got my nose pierced specifically so it would be like the first thing that people look at when they see me. Like, and I'm kind of, it is kind of healing, I guess, to really kind of empower myself. I don't tell that story to a lot of people, but I was feeling like this was an okay space to say that.
I'm glad that you kind of turned that around. And I don't know, I am someone who is always interested in cultures. Like I've always been interested in cultures. And I don't know, like obviously I cannot tell you how to feel and things like that, but I would be proud if I was Aboriginal, like if I was a First Nations person, like the incredible history, the incredible, I don't know, I feel like us white people, I'm gonna just lump everyone together. Us white people we've forgotten, we have lost touch with our ancestors, like the stories. There is none of that. Maybe that's why I'm so interested in it, because I feel like we kind of almost lost certain connection to the land, connection to other people. So I soak up other cultures, like stories and anything that's like part of their culture. I just soak it up like a sponge, like a dry sponge.
Like a dry sponge soaking it. That is so interesting. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something as well. I don't know what it's like to not be a person of color. So that's really interesting. And it makes complete sense.
I don't know. I think it's just parts of, maybe two sides of the coin. It's like, I obviously grew up in white privilege and I totally 100% acknowledge that. And I have no idea what it is like to be a person of color. But I do see from my perspective that, I don't know, I feel like we're almost missing the point. Like we're almost missing something as like a white generation. Just we don't have any of that connection to like such a strong connection to land, to I don't know. I think it's different. I don't know because obviously I am a white person, and yes, I love the land. I love like the country, but like there's not that cord that connects us. I don't know. That's how I kind of see it. Like in terms of Aboriginal people, I see them as like being so connected, and I'm like almost jealous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay to be jealous, because I've never thought about that. I personally, I didn't, I used to reject that, like I said, when I was younger out of like shame, but now I feel very connected to country. And what I'm hearing what I'm thinking when you're saying this is like, how nice would it be if we could lift each other up, not you and I mean like generally like the country. Like, how nice if we could lift each other up and there could be that sense of like ethics and quality education and empowerment and consent, all these things we've talked about so far, like on like a national scale.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, like I think that it's every nationality or ethnicity or identity will have their own privileges and their own disadvantages. And I think there's probably, for a lot of people, we all feel jealous of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we could come together and be a group, and then we wouldn't have to feel jealous of anyone because we'd all have enough.
Yeah, just acceptance of who we are. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
So good. I really love that you actually putting it front and center. Now you did open up a little bit. So, and I know that you have said that you're open to talk about this. So
yes.
I don't really know how to segue into it, but we have talked a little bit about mental health before, and other parts of business and things that often are not spoken about. So I think while we're on this opening up, I think it might be a good way into it. Are you happy, or are you open to sharing some of your mental health story?
Oh, yes, for sure. I love it. I love talking about this. I feel like other people in the team are going to listen to this and be like, Skye. But you know, I think I love that we're moving more as a society. I'm making a lot of social commentary today. Um, I love that we're moving towards this place of being open about mental health, but I feel like we haven't quite reached the point where maybe like people like you and I are at. Because I feel like we're still, I said this to you before, that we're still on, like, oh, if you go for a 10-minute walk every day and if you meditate and if you write in a journal, then, but like, yeah, if I share my mental health journey, and this is relevant to business for me, and I think it is part of ethical business because I'm very conscious of ethics, not just for clients, but also for the team. And pretty much everyone on the team, including all of our contractors, are neurodivergent or, struggle with some sort of like physical or mental barrier that, BluSkye works really hard and commits to being, accessible for. So that's kind of why this might seem like a random thing to talk about, but for me, it's so intertwined because we all work to pay our bills and we don't just get to not have mental and physical barriers to overcome every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to talk about, I guess I should put a trigger warning. I might talk about mental health in a way that's like not standard. I'm just putting trigger warning for everyone out there, but yeah, for sure. So I've had OCD since I was like born. I remember when I was a kid, and it's bad OCD. Like, well, not that there's ever good OCD, but very severe, I should say. Like, I have very severe OCD, and when I was a kid, everyone thought I had Tourette's, and I remember going to the doctor because I would just do or say these random things, and like a lot of people thought I had Tourette's. But looking back, I actually had OCD, and I don't know if you know much about OCD.
Not a hell lot.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I don't want to explain things to you that you already know, but I think there's kind of this this kind of belief that like, oh, you're just really clean. And the fact of the matter is I'm like the messiest person I know. Like, it's actually horrendous. Like, if you could see the room that I'm in right now, like there's clothes all over the floor. Like, it's not about being cleanly, and it really does affect my work. So for instance, like, oh, I've called you a few times just randomly and then be like, oh, sorry that I called you. And that's like actually like an OCD thing. Like, I just feel this need to like obsessively call people. And so I have to really check myself because like, if I annoy people by calling them, they won't want to work with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so there's just kind of like weird things like that. And as well, like energy levels. I think that energy is something that maybe a lot of neurodivergent people don't talk about is, if you have like ADHD or OCD or other ones that I don't know much about, so I probably shouldn't comment on them. It's like energy is so hard for me to run a business. Like, it's really, really difficult for me to like, there are some days like, I can't even like, honestly, some days I'm working from my bed on my phone because like I can't even go to my laptop because I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah.
And I just think people don't talk about that. Like people will say like, oh, I'm having a mental health day, but it's like, I feel like there should be a bigger conversation around, especially when you own your own business, how hard it is to kind of have that work-life balance. I don't know. Is any of this resonating? I don't know.
It is.
I'm not communicating things the way that I'm thinking them.
My brain is going, yep. And I'm looking at it from two ways. I'm like, okay, well, when I was working for someone else, there's two ways that you can have a mental health day. There's one, you can take a day off and then you absolutely do not think about work because it's like not your problem kind of thing. Because, it's not your business. And the other one was that you were at work, but you were not fully there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people get through the day like that. I don't know. Yeah. I was never, I was always up and down, and I don't have a diagnosis, but I have a very strong suspicion that I do have ADHD. But on the other side, it's like when you work for yourself, yes, it's great because you can sort of manage your own time. You can manage your own, like planning your own days. But I do that, and I get one of those days, and it's like, I've got a full schedule and zero energy.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like, I don't get sick leave. Like,
No,
you
no.
know, I don't get to just like clock in or clock out and just message someone and be like, "Hey, can you cover my shift today?" And then know
No.
that my bills are going to be paid next week. Like, we don't have
Nope.
that option.
Not at all. So you have to either shift everything that's in your calendar and work it out another way, or
Yeah.
you just got to just go and sit and do it, which makes everything take 10 times longer.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm there regularly. The other thing is that I now have built in buffers in my week because
Yeah.
I need those buffers in case I have one of those days where I literally just have zero energy and don't really want to. Or I don't know, we spoke about this a little bit before as well, and I don't know if it's part of being neurodivergent or just part of being a business owner or just part of being a woman, is I
Mm,
regularly have self-doubt. I regularly have,
yeah.
little pity parties.
Yeah.
um, Not sure where it comes from, but when you are in business, I do think that mental health is a different ball game. I think that when you work for someone else, you can, like you said, take a day off, someone else who can cover your shift and you can still
Yeah.
make money. I do still also think that it is hidden a lot in the workforce and you kind of just
I
have to
agree.
just suck it up and deal with it, which I don't think is the right way to go about it either. I don't
Mm,
know. There's like no answer, is there? Like, it's when you're in your own business, you can't necessarily stop. You don't. This is the thing with me. I think about things all the time. There is no switching off. It's not like
yeah.
5 o'clock and I leave my desk and I don't think about it anymore. I do. I go back to my desk regularly. I'm like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I forgot to
Yep.
do blah. It's just so hard.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm always working. Like, I literally posted on my Instagram story at like 2 a.m, being like writing a blog for a client, and that was true. Like, that's how it works. And I think, there was something that you said that really resonated with me. Oh, yeah, about like that lack of, like, that feeling of like doubt. And I think it does come down to probably a lot of things, but yeah, especially being a woman. Like, I nearly didn't start my side hustle because I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to judge me. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Like, as I said, I was bullied for a lot of my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to bully me again. And like, it was really hard for me to come out and be like, hey, I have value. Because how can you expect others to value you if you're not valuing yourself?
Yeah,
You
that's
know
a
what I
good
mean?
one. That
Like,
is
if
a
I'm
really,
sitting there going like, "Oh my goodness, I am not good enough. I can't do this." It's like, "Okay, then why have you asked these people to pay you this money?" Like, yeah, it's really hard to find that balance between yeah, like believing in yourself enough to book the client, but then continuing to believe in yourself enough to actually do the work that they've booked you for.
oh yeah, oh 100%. And you know what?
Yeah.
I've been doing this like for a long time, and it doesn't go away. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
I'm glad. I'm glad you told me up front. I'm
it
prepared.
just it keeps coming back and keeps coming back, and it's like a forever sort of mental game. Like it's almost that you say yes and you're like, yep, I can do this. This is so exciting. Like I'm really super excited about this project. And you get going, you're like, oh my God, maybe I should have not. Maybe I should just go and look on Seek and get a job and blah blah blah.
Literally, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just go corporate again. Yeah.
And then you get rolling and then you get results. And you're like, oh, I can really do this. This is like, yeah, this is my thing. Like I'm really good. So you get evidence that you can do it and you do it again. And like it's like
Yeah.
it's literally it happens over and over. But it is one of those things. And I don't know, I think with mental health, sometimes we think about that things go really, really, really wrong, but like it doesn't have to be like you just have to have like one or two shit days and it is mental health.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get easier. And I don't know, like I feel like one, there's still a stigma. Two, there's
Yeah.
a lot of misunderstanding. I think a lot of people just do not understand that mental health is different for everyone. And some people are really in a way debilitated by it.
Yeah.
I don't get to that point, but I do recognize it because my mother had to be admitted to a psychiatric hospital ward when I was younger. So I do know and I do see and acknowledge that. It's just, I think when you're not in it, you can't always recognize it and empathize with it, because it's like, that's why I think a lot of people just don't understand it, and that's maybe why there is the stigma.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say it openly. I have also been admitted to a psychiatric facility before, when I was 17. And yeah, like, I don't know, like, I guess I thought I'd feel a little shame telling you that, but like, that's just a fact. Like, there's nothing inherently positive or negative about that. Like, that's just a fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of these things, I think it's just a fact of if you have a diagnosis, or if you're experiencing a symptom, or if you can get results for a client, or if you need a day off, like, they're just facts.
Yeah. And they
They
didn't
don't
end
have
the
to
world.
have any weights. Yeah, I think we put a lot of weight on other people's thoughts and our thought. I don't know if it's the same for you, but when I'm having these like doubtful thoughts and I'm feeling so stressed, sometimes they don't feel like my voice, and I can think like, oh, this has probably come from when someone said this thing to me, and then I've latched onto it, and I'm hearing someone else's voice. So I guess like I'm not qualified to give advice on any of this, but like I guess it's been helpful for me to think about, like, do I really feel this way, or am I just kind of like parroting back to myself what other people have told me?
Yeah, or like, where does it come from?
Yeah,
because
like,
sometimes
is it true?
yeah, well, that's another thing. Is it true? And sometimes it's not the actual thing that you're worried about, but also potentially what you have made that mean. So, like, for example, fear of rejection or being reprimanded. And this is where all my stuff comes from. Like, if I can't get someone results, then they're not going to like me, and then they're going to and then they're going to fire me, and and it's like all of that kind of stuff. And half of the time it's just all in my head.
No, and I totally get that. And then everything's fine. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times, like, this happens to me like on a weekly basis, that a client will email me and I will be like, I can't open the email. They're going to say that they're not working with me anymore. They're not happy with this thing that I did. And I like freak out for ages. And then I click on the email and I'm literally like looking between my fingers, covering my face. And then they're just like, oh, good job. I love it. And I'm like, why did I spend an hour freaking out about this?
I do exactly that.
So I'm actually so glad that other people do that. Like, I'm not glad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, other people do that because I'm in a group of ads managers in Slack, and someone literally posted something along these lines, like a meme, along these lines, like yesterday. And I was like, oh my God. Like, when someone's like, send you a message saying, hey, we need to talk, or like, can we have a call? Yeah. And you're like, hyperventilating because you're like thinking the worst.
Yes, I actually, last night I had to have and this was genuinely, it was a really hard, awkward business conversation. They happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I got through it. Yeah. It happened. I had the hard business conversation, and you know what? My business is still fine. I'm still fine. The person I was talking to is fine. Like, even when things, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's all in your head and nothing bad will ever happen to you. Like, obviously that's also not a fact. But like, at the end of the day, like, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, I felt awkward and now I'm talking to you and I'm having a good time. Like, things move on. Yeah, it's like things move on and you're okay. And the awkward conversation or the awkward email, like, I'm not going to remember it in 6 months. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I
have OCD, so actually maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm gonna like ruminate on it for a very long time. But in general, like, you're not gonna remember that one sentence that a client or a staff member or whatever said to you that really upset you and made you doubt yourself. Like, you just move on. And the fact of the matter is, someone once said to me, that you don't get to choose if you're valuable to a client. Client gets to choose. And I think there's a bit of what we talked about before. Like, if you lie to them, then maybe they're making a bad choice. But if you are really open and honest about these are my skills, this is what I've done for other clients, this is what I'm guaranteeing, that I can do for you. I don't really guarantee results for clients. I guarantee like tasks.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I would never say to someone like, you're going to get, $1 billion in sales, but I could say I'm going to do this, this, and this. And as long as I know that I can do what I promised them, they get to choose if I'm valuable to them or not. That's not really my decision to make.
Yes.
I just have to make sure I'm being truthful.
I love that. I really do love that. I feel like we need to have that like as a quote.
Yeah.
For this episode. Let's wrap up.
But yeah, sorry, I could go on about this for a very long time.
Oh, same, because I feel like we're not talking about it enough. You know, that's why half of the time people struggle, because they don't have a little village that they can say these things to. And they think that they're the only ones feeling like that. Well, it's out here now.
Yeah, we're talking about it. We'll be the ones.
Yep, it's out there now, people. We do feel like that too. And even like, 2 decades in, like still feeling like that.
Yeah.
So let's move on to my 2 last questions for the episode. And I know I literally took such a big breath and pause, because I was like, oh, but there's all these other things I want to talk about. But no.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Let's
you can
wrap up.
Send me a voice note on Instagram and I'll chat with you about it later. Or if everyone loves this episode, I'll come back and do a plug too.
Oh, we can do that too. Yeah, totally. I always ask, what are you curious about right now?
Yeah, so I think at the moment I'm really curious about visual design. So yeah, I get into these periods where I just hyperfixate on like one thing. And right now, visual design is my thing, because, I am a copywriter and a communication specialist. And when I was corporate, that was fine. So when I started the agency, I focused on hiring people that were really kind of more knowledgeable about visual design and had a lot of that experience, because I don't. But now I'm feeling like as an agency owner, I want to become more of a generalist and more well-rounded, just kind of mostly so I can keep up with conversations.
Yeah.
Because I don't know all these fancy design words. So I've been doing a lot of learning, like staying up till like 4 a.m, kind of learning about, the visual elements of brand strategy, and not so much about, like it's just a good addition, because I know a lot about, brand voice and brand tone strategy. I know a lot about that market research, that demographic strategy, but the visual design is something that I want to be more well-rounded.
Yeah. And doesn't mean you have to do it, but knowing what you're talking about is good.
No, but I just want to like be able to keep up with other people in the room.
That's always a good thing to do. I like it. Well, I can't wait to see what, comes of that. So
yeah.
If you had an extra $5,000 in your marketing budget, what would you spend it on?
This is such a good question. So,
and you're not allowed to say Facebook ads. No, you are.
But know what? Well, that actually is part of my answer. So I'm sorry to say that to you. But honestly, I think what I would do is experiment with a bunch of different ads and see which work best for BluSkye Marketing specifically. So, at the moment, we've been connecting with most of our clients through like word of mouth and organic socials. And I'd be really interested to see like the value across different channels. So I think I'd just split the money evenly between like maybe meta ads, even like something like podcast sponsorship, newsletter sponsorship, search engine ads, and then I'd see which perform better. So then next time I could make informed decisions about where BluSkye should be showing up if we ever did have like a specific campaign in mind.
Love that. Test it all. Like it.
I love testing. I feel like people don't test enough.
Oh, true.
Because I can't really make a strategy for what would be best for BluSkye's paid advertising, because we've never done paid advertising before. So like how would I know?
And then, you got to have your goals in place first, and
Yeah, it's a whole. Yeah, so I would just play around and have fun, to be honest.
I like that. That's good. Awesome. Well, one thing is that Skye will be in Tasmania in May next year, speaking at the conference, the Tasmanian Women in Business Conference. I'm super excited about that and to have you there.
Thank you. I'm excited to be there. I told you, I've literally already written it. It's done. I could do it tomorrow and I'd be fine.
Procrastinator, right? Instead of a procrastinator. I love it.
Clearly I'm very excited because it's already done.
Oh, can you write mine? No. Kidding. I'm very excited too, because the conference is going to be amazing. I actually haven't mentioned it much on the podcast because I've kind of kept Tasmanian things separate from like the podcast, but you know what? It's out here now. I'm super excited about it. Cool. Well, that is the end of this week's show. If you have questions about copywriting, ethical business, and everything in between, head to BluSkyeMarketing.com. I will also pop the link in the show notes. A really big thanks to you, Skye. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so good.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
You're welcome. And thanks to you for listening. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you heard the podcast. Your review will help others find the show and learn more about the amazing world of online marketing. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this episode at newschoolofmarketing.com, where you can learn more about Skye, check out useful links, download free resources, and leave a comment about the show.